Well, good evening, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino Beer Review. Today you have the Rhino, and we're looking at a beer that came in the October edition of the Beau's Greener Futures Phase 3 box. This is Polaris Pale Ale. It is 5% alcohol by volume. And yeah, it looks like it's part of their B-side edition beers. It doesn't say anything really on here. I'm just looking around to see. It does say something I'm going to talk about. Return for refund where applicable, blah 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 blah. Local spring water, organic barley and wheat malts, organic spruce tips, organic hops and brewer's yeast, certified organic. And bang, there's the label, a dog looking at a record. Now, here is the fun part of this. This beer was brewed in... May. Now, I got lucky. I do know there are people that talked about it being brewed in April. So this bottle was brewed in May and was shipped out in the August edition of the brew box. Unless they dated it wrong, it is a May edition, and there's the only problem with it, right? And as I said, I know people that have had an October edition. Yeah, there's not much to say. I mean. Did they one day have a different person and they did it day month year instead of month day year? I don't know. That could have happened. I mean, I personally like my kids' feet. I do things the European way, so day month year, smallest to largest. North America normally does month day year. Most packaging does month day year as well, and that's what I'm looking at here. So I mean, this could either be the 5th of September, or it's May 9th. And I'm going with May 9th because I do not believe Beau's has ever done it that way. Also, the ones that are the other ones are like 04, 09. Sorry. Yeah, 04, 09 are the ones I've also seen. And yeah, whatever, right? Maybe somebody screwed up. Maybe they're not really as old as they say. But in my mind's eye, these are fairly old things that were sent to me in October. This is why a standard way of doing dating really needs to be done, because some breweries do day, month, year, while some breweries do month, day, year. This is why standard things need to be done so you don't get these confusions. I don't know, though. I don't think... I mean, it could happen. It could happen that they're putting older beers in the boxes that they still have at the brewery. And, I mean, that would make sense for a brewery that now has over 160 employees. But at the same time, I have more faith in Steve and his team than that. I'm lost on what to say about this. Beautiful coppery gold color, though. Very see-through, but a little tiny bit of haze. I mean, my hand is hard to see back here. My hand would be hard to see back here anyway, I know. Fuck you guys. Sort of off-white head. A little bit of snap, crackle, pop. Not all that much going on in there. We're pouring it into this IPA glass because, I mean, if this beer is 5 months old, I need to give it as much help as I can, right? What do we have on here? Freshness scale. Wait a second. Okay, so there's a freshness scale back here. And the freshness scale shows it at 4 months. So is that how good it stays long for? How long it stays good for, I mean? If that's the fact, and I'm reading this date properly, I'm past that 4 months on your freshness scale. If I'm reading this date improperly, and you did it the other way, then I am still in the freshness scale. Why would you even put a freshness scale on there? This has to be printed incorrectly. It has to be printed incorrectly. If you have a freshness scale on here, it has to be printed incorrectly. Smell, let's just... kind of syrupy sweet out of the bottle. Kind of the same out of the glass. Not much flavor, not much, aroma off of either. I guess it's just time to get into the beer. Oh my god, all that blowing just made my nose hair and like mustache hair touch. Oh, have you ever had that? For you guys that can actually grow facial hair, because I know there's a lot of people that can't. Fuck you guys that can't grow facial hair and don't have to shave every fucking day of your life. Do you have it happen a lot? Because my hair is really fucking curly, where your mustache hair curls and it touches your nose hair, and you just get that oh my god feeling right away, and it looks like you've smoked coke your whole life as you're rubbing your nostril. That happens to me almost daily. Worst part is when it happens to me at work and I have to run away from the bar because I don't need people to see me like just snorting coke off my fucking snuff box here. Let's try the beer. Cheers. This is by far the most disappointing Beau's product I've ever had. It is more boring to me than Lug Tread. I find Lug Tread to be a much more complex beer than this. Am I saying they made a bad beer? No, because I know some people get all worked up about the words I use. I'm not saying it's a bad beer. I'm saying for me personally, it's the most boring beer I've ever drank from this brewery. Did it again. Now, see, with that record, as I said, I think of the B-side labels. And the first pale ale I had on the B-side was the Kissmeyer Nordic Pale Ale. I mean, this isn't really the B-side stuff because this is them, not another brewery, because the B-side is kind of their way of being the Brunswick Beer Works type of guys, where they let people come in, brew with them, and that's how they sneak their beers into the community without paying import tax and everything, because it's brewed here and it's sold here under a different brewery. But at the same time, it's a collab, okay? At the same time, that record makes me think of that. And the Kissmeyer was a beautiful beer, and this is just a beer. This is just a very easily accessible, easy drinking beer. It's a pale ale, which means, I mean, it would be in the same category, to me, because it's so accessible, it would be in the same category as stuff like, say, Double Trouble's Hops and Robbers, and Mill Street's Tank House Ale, and Old Tomorrow's was Canadian Pale Ale, and just all those Ontario Pale Ales that are out there. This reminds me of all of those, but it's kind of more boring than a lot of them. Is it a bad beer? No, it's not a bad beer. It's just bland and boring. And that's okay, especially for a brewery like Beau's, who has such a large, over 6,000 barrels of capacity at one time. I think it's 6,447 barrels at a time. If you do the math for all the different barrels, we have this many 60 barrels, this many 50 barrels, this many 30 barrels, this many 20 barrels. If you do all of those, they have over 6,000 barrels of capacity at one time. And some beers only take a week to get out of the fermenters. So they have a huge capacity there. And when you think of that, this beer makes sense for a brewery that can spread all of Ontario, all of Canada, even hit a lot. They go coast to coast. They don't hit every province. We've done this part. They don't hit every province, but they hit coast to coast, and they head into the States. So a brewery that can do all that, a beer like this makes sense, but at the same time, a brewery that can do all that can make such amazing beers. But this is the industry we're in, right? You are either you're not usually a experimental, full flavor all the time brewery and a commercial big regional brewery at the same time. You're usually one or the other. These guys are one of the few that are huge, yet still make a lot of really good beers. And that being said, this is just one that I don't care for all that much. But it's not a